Looking for tradespeople you can rely on? Fusion Services are a team of close friends with a family feel, dedicated to keeping your home running smoothly. From electrical work to plumbing and heating, they deliver top-quality solutions with honesty, integrity, and a friendly touch. They treat every project and every customer as a part of their extended family. So whether it's fixing a fault, upgrading your heating, or tackling a plumbing emergency, trust Fusion Services to get the job done right. Mention the Sheppertonian for a 15% discount on any work for the month of February. Call them today on 020 8050 0548 or visit we-r-fusion.co.uk to book your service. This time on the Sheppertonian.
Long term, we want this to be a real flagship of a community hub as a legacy for future generations, and we really want it to be able to protect the green space, the park itself, and for the building actually be a really good example of an eco-friendly community building.
Volunteers are the heart of the charity, absolutely critical. And here in Surrey North, we very much value our volunteers and see it very much as a parallel process where we are offering support to our clients. We then have to offer that same support to our volunteers. So training is very important.
Hello and welcome to the Sheppertonian, the podcast about this village we all love that is Shepperton in Surrey in the UK. In this episode, I'll be highlighting another local community group and another amazing business, as well as sharing event dates for February, so get your calendars at the ready. And of course, those lovely Sheppertonian shout-outs. I have to warn you up front, today's featured business is a charity called Cruse Bereavement Support, who do amazing work, but in the chat we had, there were mentions of suicide and obviously bereavement. So if that's something that's currently a trigger for you, then either sit this one out or skip after the featured community section. That said, I dearly hope your 2025 is off to a good start. And if it isn't, I have everything crossed for you. So keep going, all will be well. My 2025 has started well here at the Sound Boutique, and the response to the Sheppertonian has been the nicest thing. It's really given me the confidence actually to press ahead. Although in podcasting, that means growing the audience. So I'd like to cheekily ask a favour if it's all right with you. There are several ways to help grow the show. First is recommend it. Share it with a friend or a neighbour. Send them the link to the website. That's thesheppertonian.uk. It's a really good place to get started and to get a feel for what the Sheppertonian is all about. You can also follow the Facebook page and Instagram, although I wouldn't blame you if you weren't on social media at the moment with all that's going on in the world. But if you are, like, comment on, share posts when you see them. That just means more people are aware of the show. Also, via the website, you can sign up to the newsletter, or if you already are, just forward it to someone. That takes a few seconds to do, and, people love it when you think of them, don't they? So you'll get brownie points as well. You're welcome. If you're able, you can also give a one-off tip to support the production of the podcast and newsletter. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of work, and a one-off tip would help for all the work that goes into it. It's just little old me doing everything, basically. So I have about 1 million different hats to wear to get these episodes planned, made, published, marketed, etc. So a one-off tip would really help. There are options too, which start as little as £4. So again, the link is at the website, thesheppertonian.uk, and in the show notes as well. And like I said, if you're not in a position to give a one-off tip, then recommending the show, sharing posts, things like that would be just as wonderful. The website has links to the Facebook page and Instagram and to the tips page. So all you need to do is go there to get started. I'm eternally grateful, by the way, to those of you who've spread the word already about the Sheppertonian. Let's get the show and the newsletter in front of more luggols and more eyeballs. Okay, let's get to it then. I went to a very, very chilly Laleham Park to have a chat with someone who's leading the charge to build a hub for the local community. Here we go. So I'm standing in Laleham Park on a big space with Michelle Eden, who is the founder of the Laleham Park Hub. Michelle, welcome to the Sheppertonian. How would you summarise briefly what exactly the Laleham Park Hub is and what you're trying to achieve with it?
So the Laleham Park Hub is proposing to build a community hub in Laleham Park on the site of the old sports pavilion, which was knocked down in November 2021, and to bring the community spirit back to the park. How it used to be when the old sports pavilion was here, really. And we want to have a café which is dog friendly, and changing rooms, toilets and showers for people that do the park run or use the river for water sports. And
There's your
that's
Park Hub
Potter.
mascot.
Yep. And a flexible community space for us to have workshops and for hire and things like that. So we are the facilitator, really, and what we do in those facilities is really, we can make suggestions, but ultimately is what the community wants at the end of the day.
That's interesting. Yeah, we'll come back round to that, I'm sure. But can you share the story behind Laleham Park Hub and what inspired you, really, to establish it?
Yeah, so I have been in the charity sector for about 15 years now as a volunteer, trustee and co-founder of a previous charity, which was a cat rescue charity called Here for Cats. And I basically learned that cat rescue is not about cats, it's about people, loneliness, isolation, mental health issues. It was almost running like a social services in a way.
Right.
And I also learned that, animals are great icebreakers for people opening up about their struggles. And they're very, very good with children, especially children with special needs as well. And I really wanted a place where we could sort of signpost people to, or raise awareness of support groups that are available in the community. So having that sense of belonging and to work with other charities to raise awareness of what support they can bring to the community. So I then set on this mission to find a place in a green space, because I know how important it is for nature to help people heal from these things. And that's really where my journey started.
And obviously this is a really popular spot for dog walkers.
Yes.
So I assume that, the dog walking community will be part of the plan. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And when we've been carrying out research for this project, all the people that we've met in the park, they've all said to me, you make sure it will be dog friendly, won't it? And I'm like, yes, of course.
Yeah, some puppuccinos in the cafe.
And doggy treats, yes, of course. Yeah.
Well, in some cafes, there are lovely bowls of water for dogs on hot days. But in lots of cafes that aren't, but just to have that welcome for your
absolutely.
animal is lovely, and in a space like this.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that there is so many people that we've met in this park that are actually lonely, really lonely. And I've just got some stats here that we'd found through our research. So according to our survey that we did, 77% of people believe that Laleham Park Hub will be a benefit to their mental health. And also 84% of people believe that the community does not have access to high quality space that fulfills the purposes of the hub.
Wow. Who are the people who surveyed?
So that was basically our followers on our social media, everybody that we've met in the park giving out leaflets to, the business community. We went to the rugby club, didn't we? All local people, all the stakeholders. But yeah, it's been, I would say, nearly almost 100% positive everywhere.
Overwhelmingly in favour. So what kind of activities would you be promoting for a hub like this?
We're going to be promoting stuff to do with nature. So this year we did a kids nature play day, which went down very well. And they all said that more activities like this is definitely what kids need, especially in the digital age, getting people off the phone, socialising and things like that. We're looking at doing kids sports days. We are going to be partnering with other organisations such as Surrey Wildlife Trust, hopefully do some activities there. The Eden Communities team as well. Potentially we could do some stuff there. But offering a place for people just come and have a cup of tea and a chat, really, things like that.
Round to that loneliness thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just being in the vicinity of other people. It's amazing how it brightens your day, isn't it?
Yeah. We've met lots of people in the park that have admitted to being lonely and how they would really, really want this place open. And then also there's the craft side of things that we could do here. Again, that is almost a form of therapy in itself, doing sewing or, crafting or painting or things like that. That really brings people together and it opens up conversations which then you can potentially steer to other organisations that we might want to raise awareness of, such as Spellthorne Dementia Support or the Mind.
I was going to ask about the other local charities. Yeah. How do you see Laleham Park Hub collaborating with other local charities and organisations to enhance that community support?
So we would like to invite these charities into our hub for them to raise awareness of the work that they do. You know, people might think they're just coming to our hub for a cup of tea or coffee, but actually what we're doing is we're sharing the work that these charities do, making them aware that the support services are there if they need them, hopefully encouraging more people to volunteer for those organisations. You know, volunteering is a great way of preventing actual loneliness and isolation and building friendships.
Yes. And what about the community support element of that?
So as part of our research for this proposal, we met with the Designing Out Crime officer, who met us in the park with our architects and our police.
What is Designing
Out Crime officer.
What's one of those?
So they come to the park and they assess the park as to what risks our proposal will bring to the park, such as vandalism, crime, all those sorts of things. So that, look at basically what can go wrong and things that we need to sort of mitigate within our design and things like that, really. And with that meeting with our architects were the 2 local police constables that came out, and they really would like to have a place that they can engage with young people, a safe place. And also it'd be really good for the local community police to actually have an ear to the ground and speak to any residents or any park users about concerns they've got, and really, bring that community vibe to the park, really.
Anything that kind of tears down the barriers between, taking away that us and them feeling, isn't it?
And also I think it's really important for local councillors to have a place to come to as well and really get a sense of what's going on in their local community. We have lots of footfall, people come and go all the time, so I think you'll have quite a wide remit in the area, really, of lots of people.
Absolutely, cover lots of elements. What kind of volunteer opportunities are available?
So through our organisation at the moment, we've got 2 roles that we're looking for. One is we're looking for somebody with a background in construction to sit on our committee to be an advisor a few hours a month. And we're also looking for somebody with a catering background that can advise us on the catering side, or even potentially look at coming to work in the café. Again, a few hours a month, but we are still at the very early stages.
Yeah. What would you say have been some of the challenges in establishing and developing the hub, and how have you addressed those?
I suppose the biggest challenge we've come across is the fact that we're in a real chicken and egg situation.
Okay.
We don't have any facilities here. We've got no history or credibility as a charity. So it's been very hard to...
But you are local people.
But we are well...
And you know the area and
we
the
know
space.
We know the area. I actually live in Hampton Hill. I'm like 20 minutes down the road. Yeah. And it took us 2 years to be able to present to Spellthorne Council our idea.
Okay.
And the way that we did that is we basically engaged with the park out there, speaking to people, giving out leaflets, engage with the local councillors and the Spellthorne Business Forum as well. And just by keeping our face out there, eventually people sort of took notice, and we got introduced to the right people and presented to the council.
Right. So where are you in that process?
So we are in the process of putting our finishing touches to our business plan, which we will then present to the council, and then we have to wait for all the permissions needed.
The worst bit.
The planning permission and that side of things. So there are still quite a few hoops to jump through, shall we say.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what are your short-term and long-term goals for Laleham Park Hub, and how do you envision its growth in the coming years?
Really, our short term is to finish our business plan, get our planning permission for funding to build. And realistically, our timeline, we're probably looking to start, actually, if everything goes according to plan, actually getting a fork in the ground, you're probably looking October 2027, realistically.
Right. Okay.
And that's if all goes according to plan. Long term, we want this to be a real flagship of a community hub as a legacy for future generations, and we really want it to be able to protect the green space, the park itself, and for the building actually be a really good example of an eco-friendly community building, because of everything that's going on in the world, and probably new rules and regulations regarding heating and things like that. There's going to be a lot of buildings that are probably going to have to be closed. Right. So we really wanted it to be an example of actually this is how you do it.
Yeah. future-proofing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And in terms of actually on from that, potentially maybe develop other community assets in the area that are, disused. I think there's a disused toilet block on the site in Laleham Park, which somebody's actually mentioned about maybe, doing that up and turning it into a cookery school. Somebody suggested, but,
So kind of acting as a lead, pardon the pun, leader in the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we can help them with that, we'd like to share our experience on our journey to help others do the same. And that's really what we'd like to be able to do, really.
So you said 2027, which is, it's not too far away. It's 2 years away, maybe 2.5 years away. How can individuals and organisations support the hub in achieving that mission and objectives?
So it's taken us over 2 years to get this far on a voluntary basis, and we funded this from our own pocket so far.
Wow.
So we're all volunteers, and we've been very lucky to have a lot of pro bono professional support who share our vision. But mainly we are looking for somebody maybe to come and help run our cafe, whether that's a business that wants a partnering opportunity, we don't know. We would also ask them to contact their local councillors to say that they're supportive of the Laleham Park Hub proposal. And really we need their help to help us to secure planning permission. So any donations towards that will be really welcome.
It's been a long old road, isn't it?
What
keeps you going when in those dark times when you're thinking, oh crikey, another form, another thing to do? What keeps you going?
This is a question I really have to think about. and the reason that I think I'm doing this, because I know it's really important to have a sense of belonging and a purpose in your life. And I think this proposal provides a great opportunity, not just for me, but for others to do that. And I think that despite all the bad news going on today, there's some really great people out there that really want to make a difference. It's not just me. So I believe it's a bit like building a church without the religion.
Right.
Yeah. That's the way that I see it. If you build it, people will come.
Yeah. Well, here's to that. So, final question. How can people find out more about Laleham Park Hub in order to just follow your progress or to get involved?
The best thing would be to go onto our website, which is laleham.parkhub.org, sign up to our newsletter, follow us on our social media channels, which is Facebook and Instagram, and there's also a donate button if you'd like to make a donation. But the best thing would be to sign up to our newsletter. We can keep people involved in our progress and also raise awareness of any events that we're doing in the park as well.
Fabulous. Michelle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by The Sound Boutique, an award-winning audio production company right here in Shepperton. It produces music for TV and brands, it fixes problem audio for a variety of clients, and yes, it produces podcasts like the one you're listening to right now, as well as providing training for people who want to produce their own. If you'd like help with anything from music, problem audio, or if you'd like your organisation to start a podcast, you can contact The Sound Boutique at the email hello@thesoundboutique.com or via the link in the show notes. I'm here with Nerys James, the branch chair of Cruse Bereavement Support.
At Surrey North Branch.
Surrey North Branch, bereavement charity. Nerys, thanks for coming on today.
Pleasure.
If we could start perhaps with an overview of Cruse Bereavement Support and what its mission is.
Well, it's a national charity. It was formed in 1959 by a woman called Margaret Torrey, who wanted to offer support to widows. And the charity has grown and grown. It now has something like about 80 branches throughout England and Wales. Scotland is separate. So it's a charity that offers bereavement support, no matter what the nature of the bereavement is, to all adults and to children and young people.
And what does that support look like in terms of what you offer to individuals who've experienced a loss?
It will look like in different ways in different branches. Different branches will offer different levels of support, but the core of the support is one-to-one support. That can be offered on the telephone, on Zoom or in person. And that very much is tailored by the client's needs and the availability of what the branch has available. We're sitting in the client room here in Surrey North. So this is where clients are seen if they are having in-person support.
And how welcoming it's been so far. Lovely cup of coffee.
Thank you very much for saying that to me. I helped paint this room, so I have an enormous pride in it.
Oh, brilliant. So you mentioned one-to-one sessions in a number of different ways and forms. How do you tailor the services to meet the diverse needs of different age groups, particularly children and young people?
All clients are assessed as to whether we are the appropriate charity for their needs. And all children and young people are assessed, because obviously working with a 5-year-old or working with a 14-year-old to an 80-year-old or a 35-year-old is going to be very different. So that happens during the assessment process.
Right.
And obviously with children and young people, the parents or parent or carer will be involved.
Lovely. Let's talk about volunteers. Mm-hmm. What role do volunteers play in delivering the services of Cruse? And what kind of training do they undergo? What kind of support do they have?
Well, volunteers are the heart of the charity, absolutely critical. And here in Surrey North, we very much value our volunteers and see it very much as a parallel process where we are offering support to our clients. We then have to offer that same support to our volunteers. So training is very important. The initial training is a national training programme, extremely well regarded. It's not a walk in the park, as you would expect. It's a 4-day online programme on Zoom. It used to be in person, but it's now on Zoom. And the volunteers are required to work through their own feelings about death and bereavement and look at their own awarenesses and issues, so that they can then, that enables them to stay with the pain of the client's bereavement. So that's the initial training. And then as they volunteer, there's obviously a programme of continuing professional development offered within the branch, so that their training is ongoing. It doesn't stop when they become a volunteer. It's ongoing.
Yeah. And do the volunteers have a choice of how much time they can give?
They're required to give a minimum of 15 hours a year.
Right.
But of course, many more do that. And the CPD can come in so many different ways. Podcasts, books, in-person training. The national charity offers a huge amount through their network. So it comes in a variety of different ways. And then when you couple that with the supervision that all volunteers have to have, that too is a form of CPD, if you like, but it's an ethical requirement that all volunteers need to take their client work to a supervisor. And if there are issues they need to look at, they've got that support through their supervisor. And we are very, very strong on that notion. There's a strong expectation and a strong requirement that they use the supervision to that effect.
Right. So let's talk about the actual process of grief. How would you describe that?
Grief, yes. Grief happens to us all, doesn't it? Grief is a loss. It can be a loss of a pet, it can be the loss of a home, it can be the loss of a person. And where it is the loss of a person, it's perhaps one of the most painful experiences we go through in our life. And that person can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can come in any form. And grief is painful because it's linked to the attachment that we had with that person. And so the process of grief and the process of support is to encourage or to support the client in being able to talk about their feelings, so that they articulate those feelings, because something happens when we move the feelings from inside of us, we talk it out, and then the volunteer can offer that support to hold the painful feelings, which a number of relatives can't do, or friends. And a lot of those feelings can be normalised. A lot of people are very afraid of grief, that they think they're going mad or this is all very different for them, but the feelings have to be normalised. But also to help them think about how do they then create a new normal, what we call a new normal, a new life, a different life without that person who has died. So there are two things going on at the same time. The grief, the loss of the painful loss, the grief feelings of the person who's died, but also reinvesting in a future that doesn't have that person in it.
Yeah, that's a lovely way of putting
Thank you.
it. Let's move on to some personal insights from Neris James, the branch chair. What motivated you to become involved with Cruse Bereavement Support, and what has been your experience as branch chair?
I've been a volunteer for a very long time, the best part of 37 years. And I was motivated. In another life, in my professional life, I was working in the world of education. And I was a deputy head teacher of a school on the patch in Surrey North. And a pupil, this was now, I'm talking about the early 80s, and a pupil took their own life. Right. And I was, as a deputy responsibility, head of pastoral care. And it was totally devastating. But if we take ourselves back to the 80s, there was no support. There was no recognition. There were no counsellors. There were no educational psychologists coming in. And it was almost like, oh, this terrible thing has happened, let's sweep it under the carpet. Let's not mention it. Because that was the culture of the early 80s in terms of bereavement. And my feelings didn't go away. And what I did, I started going on courses thinking, well, I need to know a little bit about bereavement. I knew something different was happening for me. Long story short, I went on a day course. Then I went on another course. And then I did the training. And then I was encouraged to become a volunteer. And it all fitted with me as a personality. And I knew from my early years of supporting clients that I could do the work because the essence of doing the work is to stay with the client's pain.
Wow, okay.
Not to take that pain away, to let them articulate that pain and those feelings. And I knew early on that that was something that I could bring to the work. And then I did a lot of one-to-one work. At that time, pre-pandemic, way back, we used to visit clients' homes. Another era. That obviously doesn't happen anymore. We see clients here in the client room. And then I became interested in groups. I'd done a lot of group work in my work in education. And
brought a lot of empathy, I suppose. As a teacher, you need to have
yes.
that empathy for your,
yes, you do.
your pupils.
You need to have that empathy, but you also need to be able to make that switch of you're not instructing, you're not telling them, you're not giving advice. You're led by the client. Whereas a teacher, you're doing a lot of the leading. So there is a switch to make there. And then I was asked at that time to lead on groups, formed a team within the branch, and became very interested and loving group work, working with clients, 6 or 8 clients in a group, 2 facilitators, offering the support through groups. And then I'd become a supervisor, I'd done some training within the branch, and then there was a vacancy to become the branch chair. I don't think it was where I thought I was going to end up, but this is where I have ended up. And very much enjoy this role. It's different, but it's something about maintaining that sense of collective belonging and collective purpose and maintaining our standards and our high standards of work that we pride ourselves on here in Surrey North, in the work that we do with clients.
So what are Cruse's goals for the future? Maybe at a branch level, maybe at a national level, in terms of enhancing services or other services?
Well, certainly in terms of branch level, to maintain our services. It's an ongoing process of recruiting volunteers. But also there's another dimension to our work. We obviously have to fundraise. We have to maintain the financial stability of the branch, cover our costs. We are always fundraising. We are always looking. We ask clients for donations. There's no pressure, but we appreciate client donations. And we appreciate support from the local community, from businesses, from other Rotary give us huge sums of money to support us. So we're always looking for money to maintain and cover our costs so that we can continue to offer this service to clients within the 4 boroughs of Runnymede, Elmbridge, Spelthorne and Woking.
And in terms of Sheppertonian listeners,
Yes.
that money can come in the support of a cake sale. It doesn't necessarily mean that people need to put hands in their pockets.
No, it can
means
come
they
in.
can fundraise themselves.
It can come in so many different guises. They can do sponsored walks, sponsored anything, quizzes, a whole range of things through their church, through Rotary, through other groups that they might belong in. And to the business world in Shepperton, if you're looking to support a charity, I know the bigger charities always attract the finance, but don't forget the smaller charities, because bereavement, death is going to impact us all.
It happens to everyone,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. So let's round off then. If you are listening to this and perhaps have gone through a bereavement, what would you, Neris, say to someone who's going through that right now?
I would say that if you feel you need support outside of your family, very often the family and friends and colleagues will give that support. Sometimes that doesn't come into play. Do not hesitate to contact us. And Gareth, you have got our details that you can put out on the podcast, because sometimes it's not always the right thing for family and friends to support. And this is what we are here for.
Wonderful. Neris James, Branch Chair of Cruse Bereavement Support. Thank you so much for spending some time.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Neris James there. And if you feel that you could benefit from some one-to-one help from Cruse Bereavement Support, take a look at their website, which is cruse, cruse.org.uk, or call their helpline on 0808 808 1677. Okay, what's going on? What's going on in Shepperton? Sponsored by Shepperton Matters. On Tuesday, February the 4th and the 28th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, it's the Concorde Silver Simulator. Ooh, that's at Brooklands Museum, Brooklands Road in Weybridge. And it says, be at the controls of Concorde, whether or not you've flown an aircraft before. Sounds a bit dicey, but I'm sure you'll be in safe hands. Next up is the charity fashion show for Valentine's Day. That's on Saturday, the 8th of February, 6:45 p.m. for a 7:30 show. Join in an evening of fun and fashion as we strut along the catwalk. Funds going to Rotary and Princess Alice Hospice, and tickets for that are £15. Then on Sunday, February the 9th at 3 p.m. at the Shepperton Cinema, Shepperton Studios, it's Macbeth, David Tennant and Cush Jumbo star. And then on Wednesday, February the 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m, it's Minding Her Own Business presents Reframing Self-Care. That's at Totally Tangerine Cookery at the Courtyard Ferry Lane, Shepperton. And then for all you romantic souls, it's Kelly's Dance Studio Valentine's Dance. The date is, of course, Friday the 14th of February, and that runs from 7:30 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. Tickets are £20 per person, and that's at Shepperton Village Hall on the High Street. And finally, on Saturday the 15th of Feb, at the Riverside Arts Centre in Lower Sunbury, from 10:15 a.m. coffee and croissant. For an 11 a.m. concert, it's the Coffee Concert with Stephen Robbins Piano Quartet. When I say quartet, that means piano, violin, viola and cello, not 4 pianos. You'll find links to all of those events in the show notes, or if you head to thesheppertonian.uk and sign up to the newsletter, all of the links will be sent to your inbox. So I thought moving forwards I'd extend the Sheppertonian shout out to messages emailed in or sent via social media. And it seems January is all about the cafes. This one's from Jenny, who says, hello everyone who's listening. I'd like to give a shout out to the Ferry Cafe down at Shepperton Lock. It really does have a great selection of food and drink and such a lovely atmosphere. That it does, Jenny. Next up is from David. David says, I'm not sure if it's allowed as it's not strictly in Shepperton. But I want to let everyone know about the Sassy Apron, which is just down the road in Lower Sunbury. It's such a nice little shop with so many delicious looking treats. Thank you, David. I'm sorry, but I can't allow that as it's not in Shepperton. Looks like I just did. And finally, let's see. Paula says, I often go to Shepperton High Street to pick up something for lunch, and Café Mockadee do the best coffee around. I want to give them a big shout out for always being so welcoming. Oh, that's a lovely one. So yes, it's been all about the cafes this time. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Sheppertonian. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter if you want links to anything you've heard in this show. And until next time, I'll see you around. Shepperton Matters is your monthly community magazine, hand-delivered, available for pickup, and also online at villagematters.co.uk. You'll find it full of stories, history, information, and local traders and advertisers. 9,000 copies are distributed every month. Call Monica Jones on 07979 808 991 for more information.